All right. Okay. You're first, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Bonjour et merci d'être venu ce matin. Je suis Chandra Pasma, la candidate du NPD ici à Ottawa West-Nepean. Good morning and thank you so much for being here this morning, everyone. I'm Chandra Pasma. I'm the NDP candidate here in Ottawa West-Nepean. And welcome to one of my favorite places in the riding, the Maison de la Francophonie, which is one of the partnerships between the Conseil des écoles publiques de l'Est de l'Ontario, the Francophone Public School Board here in Ottawa, to talk about education. Nous sommes ici ce matin à la Maison de la Francophonie, fruit d'un partenariat entre des organismes francophones et le CPO pour parler de l'éducation en Ontario. Public education shapes the lives and the minds of our children, and we need to make the investments and support the system in a way that ensures our children receive the best possible education, one that sets them up for work and life as curious, thoughtful, and contributing citizens. But after 7 years of a Doug Ford government, that is not the system that we have. Ford has cut funding by $1,500 per child, and we are seeing the results every single day in our kids' classrooms. Larger class sizes, fewer caring adults, cuts to special education, crumbling schools, and it's even reached the point where there aren't enough books, paper, or pencils in our kids' classrooms. This is not okay. Our kids deserve better, and we can do better. And it's time to hold Mr. Ford accountable for the way he has treated our children. We have the opportunity now to use our votes to secure a better future for our children. New Democrats have a positive vision for our education system, one that supports every child and sets them up for success. We have a path forward to make that vision a reality, and as Premier, Marit Stiles will put our kids and their needs first every single day. L'éducation publique est essentielle pour la réussite de nos enfants. Nous avons besoin d'un système qui assure que nos enfants reçoivent la meilleure éducation possible, qui les donne les outils nécessaires pour la vie et pour le travail et pour leur rôle comme citoyens. Mais après 7 ans de Doug Ford, ce n'est pas le système actuel. Nous pouvons demander mieux. Avec nos votes, nous avons l'opportunité de faire des changements. En tant que Premier ministre, Marit Stiles créera le système dont nos enfants ont besoin. Elle a la vision et la détermination de le faire. And to share that vision, I am proud to introduce my friend and colleague and the leader of the NDP, Marit Stiles.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and bonjour. Hello, everybody. It is great to be back here in Ottawa and to be joined by our amazing Ottawa area team. Chandra Pasma, from Ottawa West-Nepean, Catherine McKinney, who's running in Ottawa Centre, Morgan Gay, who is running in Ottawa South, Miriam Jelaine, who is running in Ottawa Vanier, David Belcher in Canada Carleton, Max Blair from Nepean, and Matthew Savini, who is running in Orleans. This team, they are an amazing team, and I am so proud to be running alongside of them. Thank you to the staff here at Maison de la Francophonie d'Ottawa for hosting us today. I was here just a few months ago, although I think it was empty because it was the summer, so it's a little different. But we are also joined by some incredible education workers with us today, members of OECTA, of IFO, of OSSTF, of ETFO, of OSBCU. Thank you for being here with us today. C'est absolument inspirant de voir combien de gens se sont réunis pour le même bout. Et ce bout, c'est notre province. Ce bout, c'est que chaque Ontarien et Ontarienne reçoivent une province que vous méritez, avec un gouvernement qui prend soin de vous. Since I've been elected, I've heard from so many teachers and education workers, parents, students, all across this beautiful big province. We have fought together, we have stood alongside each other with shared ideas, with shared anxieties too. And let's face it, this is a time where a lot of people are feeling anxious about their bills, about rising household costs, and about what the future holds, especially with everything happening with Trump's tariffs. As we face this unprecedented challenge as a province, Doug Ford quit his job. People deserve better judgment than that. And that's why I'm running for Premier to replace him. We need to defend the jobs of Ontarians instead of Doug Ford's job. And we need to build a tariff-proof Ontario for years to come. Today, I want to talk about one way that we can do that, by fixing our schools and giving our kids stability and opportunity. This is about building our future, and it's also about strengthening our economy. Now, as a mom, there are a few issues that are closer to my heart than this one. You know, I got to tell you, I was thinking this morning about what it's like when you drop your little ones off at school for the first time with those giant backpacks. Like, the backpack is almost bigger than the child at that point, and you're worrying that maybe they're just going to fall right over. The good news is there'll be somebody there to help them up, right? That's what we count on in our publicly funded education system. Ontario's schools are more than just buildings. You walk through any high school in any community and you're going to see generations of students in the class photos along the hallway walls. You're going to see old haircuts and clothing that have fallen out of fashion, and I'm going to say, though, mullets are apparently coming back, which will be good news for some of us and some of you. You'll see thousands of lives that have changed forever by the quality education that they received in our public schools. Ontario's schools represent opportunity. They build communities. They give students the tools that they need to excel in our rapidly changing world, the skills that they need to contribute to our province and help build a better future for all of us. So if we're going to restore Ontario's promise of opportunity, of a place where you can build a good life, we have to start with fixing our schools. Ontario's New Democrats have a plan to invest in education, one that's going to set our kids and Ontario up for success. As Premier, I will fix our schools, hire more staff, create a universal school food program, and make sure that every student has the support that they need. Right now, our schools are literally falling apart. We have a $22.3 billion repair backlog that was left behind by the Liberals and allowed to grow and fester and grow again by Ford. Schools without heat in the winter, schools with leaking roofs, conditions that make it impossible for our kids to focus and to learn. New Democrats will fix our schools so kids have a nurturing and healthy and supportive environment. We're also going to hire more staff and ensure that every single student, regardless of their needs, gets the support they deserve. More dedicated teachers, educational assistants, child and youth workers, ECEs, custodial and trade workers. These education workers make all the difference, helping students get the one-on-one attention that they need, helping students learn and grow. And you know what? Having more caring adults in schools makes them safer as well for everyone. To support student learning and give families financial relief, I'm going to launch a universal school food program. Right now, Ontario is the only province that hasn't signed on to the federal program, and I think that is shameful. At a time when food bank use is up, I mean, it has tripled, and it's going to quadruple again, all across Ontario. At a time when families are facing sky-high grocery bills and they can't keep up with the rent, the Ontario government can and should help. We can ensure that kids focus on their teachers, not their hunger. And of course, we're going to use Ontario-grown food to do it. Fix schools, hire more education workers, feed kids, and support every student. These are the commitments that we're making to you. You know, making sure that kids get the very best education is a core responsibility of any government, but it has not been the focus for this government. Doug Ford's record speaks for itself. Instead of fixing our schools, he let the backlogs grow. Instead of hiring more teachers and education workers, just remember, he tried to freeze their wages and he fired thousands of them, and he wanted to fire more. He would have fired 10,000 teachers and education workers if we all had not stood up to him. And his cuts have hurt. In 2024 alone, Doug Ford cut education funding by $1,500 per student, per child. Students deserve better. Families deserve better than that. Building stronger schools is what drove me to first run for office. As a school board trustee, I saw the impacts of the underfunding. And as an MPP, I fought back against Ford's cuts to Ontario's schools. As your next premier, I'm going to set things right. This election, your vote can help fix our schools and build new ones. It can help make sure that those schools are staffed with caring adults that give every learner the best education they can get. Mes amis, nous avons le pouvoir de tourner la page sur Doug Ford durant cette élection. Nous avons le pouvoir de réparer nos écoles et nous ici, en tant que vos candidats du NPD de l'Ontario, nous sommes prêts à se mettre à vos côtés. Nous sommes prêts à former un gouvernement qui est bienveillant. Et comme votre prochain Premier ministre, je veillerai à ce que Ontario devienne une province pour vous. This election, we can turn the page on 7 long years of Doug Ford, and we can elect a government who is on your side. I'm ready to make that happen. We are ready to make that happen. Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. And I look forward to taking your questions.
Good morning, Mark McAllister from
Hi,
City
Mark.
News. Apologies.
I was just going to say, folks can please line up behind the mic for questions.
I'm already here. Thank you. Mara, yesterday Doug Ford said he was 100% happy that Donald Trump was elected president. Should that be something that is considered in this election, his feelings about Donald Trump?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, Doug Ford, he showed you who he is. And we know this guy, right? We know this. This is not news to us. This is who Doug Ford is. He says one thing when he's out front to the microphones, in front of all of you, and he says another one behind closed doors. And we've seen it again and again. We saw him lie when it came to the Greenbelt, and we'll see him lie again. And I think the fact that he keeps saying one thing in front of you and another thing behind doors tells you everything you need to know about Doug Ford. He has not been upfront with Ontarians, and I mean that is the culture of Doug Ford. It is one where we've seen him make, frankly, I think corrupt deals behind closed doors, dirty deals, bad deals for Ontarians, bad deals with American corporations. The deals that Doug Ford makes are deals that only benefit him and his friends, and we've seen it again and again and again. So it doesn't surprise me at all that he would say something like that, that's how he really feels. I think probably the one thing I would say is that, it's a little bit sad that while, Doug Ford clearly is a big fan of Donald Trump doesn't seem to be aware of who Doug Ford is.
To follow up on that, with these tariffs on pause, you've obviously got an announcement here regarding education. How difficult is it for you during the course of this campaign to make sure other issues are being brought to the forefront?
Yeah, the way I look at it is this. When these tariff threats came, we're thinking about, are we ready for this? Are we strong enough? Because to me, the focus, and I was talking about this yesterday in terms of our proposals for how we protect ourselves and ready for tariffs, is we have to be ready to defend ourselves against these tariffs. We have to be ready to be strong and united across the country. And where we are right now, frankly, as a province, is we are weak. We are vulnerable. And the reason we are weak and vulnerable is because after 7 long years of Doug Ford and the Conservatives, our province has never been more expensive to live in. It is so expensive to find a home. People can't make their rent. Groceries are sky high. People can't find a family doctor. People can't get their kids any support at school. These are already the anxieties that I'm hearing about every day from everybody I talk to. Life in Ontario is tough after 7 years of Doug Ford, but not for his friends and his insiders. No, they're doing okay. But everybody else is suffering, and that makes us weak and vulnerable. And it means that when something like this comes, our breaking point is different, right? Like, Ontarians cannot take another hit. I truly believe that. And so I believe that actually this election is an opportunity to to make a choice. We have the power now to vote for something different, to vote for better, stronger schools, which is why I'm here today. And I do think that schools are absolutely essential. You know, our education system, both our schools and our post-secondary institutions, our colleges and universities, that's what's going to help us become tariff-proof. We have to build our economy, and we have to make sure that our citizens, our people, our kids are going to be set up for success, to be the workers who are going to drive our economy in the future. That's absolutely essential. And so I think actually this is exactly the moment when we need to be talking about things like education and healthcare and housing and cost of living and being strong and united and fighting for every single job.
Hi, Marit. Emma Weller here with CBC.
Hi.
Your opponents have been talking about healthcare, and they say they're promising about 2 million Ontarians that they're going to have access to a healthcare provider. You've been talking about the similar plans since last spring. What are you proposing, and do you feel you have to differentiate yourself from them?
Oh, we're going to be talking about healthcare, and I will talk about healthcare every day. But I will say this: we have already put forward a number of solutions that would immediately free up physicians. So as you're referring to, 2.5 million Ontarians right now don't have access to a family doctor. This is a crisis here in the Ottawa region, but it's a crisis all across the province. You know, we see thousands of people lining up in a town like Walkerton in a snowstorm to sign up for a family doctor. This is heartbreaking, right? But there's solutions right now and steps we could be taking that we've put forward to the Ford Conservatives numerous times that would at least help us get a little closer to that. And then we'll have, of course, lots of more ideas, and we're going to be proposing more. But the first thing I would say is let's clear the paperwork off the desks of our family doctors. We know that it's overwhelming them. We know that if we clear the paperwork, they can see more patients. We can immediately start to address some of that, address some of those people who don't have family physicians right now. That's part of it. And it is essential that we talk about primary care, because that's going to keep people healthier. It's going to help relieve some of the pressure on our emergency rooms. But we also have to stop this government from privatizing and carving up our healthcare system. It is exactly, it is exactly those same American corporations, I would say, that Doug Ford is looking to sell off our healthcare system. That's what they've been doing. And we're going to stop that because we believe in public healthcare, because we believe in having a healthcare system that is strong, that protects people, especially in a situation like we're facing right now.
And follow to that, I mean, you're very aware of our state of healthcare across the province. What changes to our healthcare do we need to see to help restore people's confidence in this system, from family doctors to hospitals?
Yeah, so I mean, the most important thing is, yes, we do have to build confidence back, but I mean, that comes with actually making sure that we invest properly in our healthcare. So we're spending a lot of money in healthcare right now, but we're not spending it on the right things. And we need to make sure we are investing more, not into private nursing agencies, but into respecting and paying our healthcare workers properly. The last thing we need, and what Doug Ford did by fighting our healthcare workers, our nurses in court to suppress their wages, the disrespect they felt, he's driving them out of the system. They're overwhelmed, they're broken. We need a government that respects those people, that shows them the respect they deserve, and that has a plan to invest in our public healthcare system. Right now, we are transferring dollars from our public hospitals and operating rooms into private clinics, while our operating rooms sit empty, collecting dust. We cannot keep doing that. It's costing us, literally costing us more than it needs to, and Ontarians deserve so much better. And that's why, when Doug Ford decided to quit as Premier about a week ago, I said, okay, right on, I'm running for your job. It's time to replace him with a Premier who cares about you, who's going to fix our public education system, fix our schools, and a government that is on your side.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Marit. Sarah McFarlane from iPolitics.
Hi.
You've committed throughout this campaign to billions of dollars in new spending on education, but as well housing, emergency income programs, buying back the 407, a tariff support package, and we can assume that more announcements and promises are coming. But how can all this be paid for without raising the income tax?
Well, look, I'll say this. We're going to have costing for all of our offers, but some of this is about priorities, okay? We are going to work, for example, we are going to work with the federal government, not like our current, not like Ford and the Conservatives. We are going to work with our federal government to make sure that this school food program is universal, not because we should, but because we have to, because it's about who we are as Canadians and as Ontarians. And we are the only province that doesn't have that program. We are going to make sure that our children are fed. It's very simple. We are going to make sure that the dollars that Doug Ford has wasted on projects that are not helping Ontarians, that are just helping his insider friends and big American corporations, go back into our programs, our services, our province, so that we are stronger, so that we are ready, and we are not vulnerable to the kinds of threats we're seeing from the United States. That's what we're going to keep doing, and I'm going to keep putting forward strong proposals that I think are going to help make Ontario strong again and build us back.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, Ms. Stiles. Dylan Robertson from the Canadian Press. Thank you for taking our questions.
My pleasure.
Do you think Doug Ford will take a victory lap over the tariff pause, since he took such a public role in publicly pushing back against those tariffs?
Well, my goodness, I would not be surprised. Nothing about Doug Ford surprises me. But I mean, I think Doug Ford walked us into a terribly vulnerable situation by calling this election. And I think Ontarians see through it. I think Ontarians, as I'm traveling around the province, people know that he's trying to pull one over on them, that he's trying to con them into thinking that, that this is what this whole election is going to be about. But Ontarians know what it's like to live in this province after 7 long years of Doug Ford and the Conservatives. It is hard to live in Ontario right now. People that I meet every day are struggling with the cost of everything. They need a government who's going to be there to try to relieve the cost of things, the burden that's on them, that's going to actually turn things around again. I don't think they're buying what Doug Ford is selling. And I think that the fact that we've got a pause right now just means that it's an opportunity for us to think a little bit more about the kind of Ontario we want and what a strong Ontario means in the face of tariffs. And you're not going to get that from Doug Ford, because he's going to continue to sell off our province. He's going to continue to make his backroom deals, say one thing in front of the microphones and another thing in the back room. And you know, I don't think he turned this around. I think he's set us up for Ontarians to get really hurt hard by these tariffs. But I can assure you that as Premier, I will stand up for every single job. I will fight for every single Ontarian, and I will make sure that we are there to care for people if this storm hits.
And just building on your comment about priorities here, should we be talking more about provincial specific issues during this trade pause, or is the threat of tariffs still the main thing that we should be concerned and talking about?
I think that these things are one and the same. I would say, as I said yesterday, that the threat of tariffs gives us an opportunity to think about how vulnerable and weak we are right now as a province, how much our people are already suffering. What I hear from people, the anxiety I'm hearing, is because things are already so bad. You know, I was here, last time I was in Ottawa, I met with a senior who was, I think, 64 years old. A little bit of bad luck, worked her whole life. A little bit of bad luck, she was homeless. She was living out of her car for 8 weeks before she ended up with a place in a shelter. Chandra and I met with her. I meet seniors like that every day, right on the brink. They cannot afford anything more hitting them. And so for me, this moment is about talking about things like our education system, making sure that our children are set up for success, making sure that children have the food they need, the nourishing meals that are going to help them get through it when their families are at home unable to pay for groceries, going to the food bank. That's the reality today. Like, that is many families in this province. That's families that have parents who have more than one job are still ending up with food banks. We know this is happening. I want to make sure that we are ready for this. We are stronger. And in terms of our economy, that means, yes, you know, we don't just wake up one day and say we're going to buy Ontario because of the tariff threat. We buy Ontario. We strengthen our economy. We support our farmers, and we support every sector. And we don't do it, and we don't make promises and call elections just to save our own jobs. We stand here as folks that are elected and want to be elected to protect Ontarians and to stand up for them every single day.
Hi, Marit.
Hi.
It's Charlie Pinkerton of the Trillium.
I remember you, yes.
Yes, I've been away for a little bit, but that's all right.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, you too. I like your green suit as always.
Thank you.
This morning we published details of a lawsuit filed by a group of landowners against a pair of former government staffers. The landowners allege that the former staffers were paid to use, and I quote, their back channel contacts and political connections to get the land rezoned for development. The land wasn't rezoned, and the former staffers said many of the claims against them are baseless and that they plan to fight them in court. I'm just wondering what your reaction is to this news and how you, if you're elected premier, would manage land use policy differently than the PCs.
Well, first of all, yes, I've read about these. These are very serious allegations, once again, of what looks like corruption on the part of the Doug Ford government, Doug Ford and his Conservatives. It is, I think we've seen that this is the culture of the Ford Conservatives. And you know, I would say I don't think Ontarians have forgotten that. We saw it with the Greenbelt grab, right? We're seeing it right now in Wilmot, Ontario, where 770 acres of prime farmland are about to be expropriated, and the government has made sure everybody has to sign an NDA. You know, that, sure, nothing to see here, folks. You know, and I think people are seeing through it. So I wish I could say I was surprised, but I am not. And I can assure you that, once again, you know, when we form government, if we are formed to form government, and when I'm premier, we're going to make sure that we clean this stuff up. Doug Ford and his Conservatives, they're only ever in it for these kickbacks and these land deals that are going to make money for insiders. Remember, what was all of this supposed to be about? Building homes. And where are we right now? There are no homes. And there are certainly no affordable homes. Doug Ford hasn't built a home for people. So not only are his staff and his insiders and friends making money and passing envelopes around, they're also not getting the work done that needs to be done. Ontarians deserve a lot better than that. We have a housing crisis. We need to build within our existing boundaries. We need to build that density. And we need a government that's going to lead and going to build the homes that are permanently, deeply affordable that Ontarians need.
And in response to the tariff threats and sort of some of the other uncertainties that come with Donald Trump's presidency, you and the other party leaders seem to align on a number of things. Yesterday, it was canceling the Starlink deal. You know, you've each said that you're willing to...
Was it canceled in the end, though?
That's to be decided, it seems.
I don't think so.
In any event, you know, the need to spend as a provincial government. We're in an election right now. I don't think that you or Bonnie Crombie or Mike Schreiner or Doug Ford were on the phone with Donald Trump yesterday getting those tariffs postponed. Are you not all fighting about something that whoever it is becomes premier, have little actually sway in?
Well, look, you know, Doug Ford wants everybody to think that this election is about the tariff threat. And we know that it's not about that. It's only ever been about him keeping his job. That's what this election is about. And I don't think Ontarians are buying what he's selling. Okay, this is not about that. It never was. If we're going to have an election in the middle of this extremely difficult time, when we're facing that potential threat, then we're going to talk about what it takes to make a stronger Ontario. So this doesn't happen again. Or if it does happen again, people can survive it. And we're better positioned to stand up and be strong. But I will say also, this is why I think it does matter, Charlie, that we are taking a strong and united approach across Canada. It's also why I think it's really important that we are also looking to our other allies in the democratic world. Because, look, we rely a lot on our relationship with the United States. But there are other countries out there that he's going to try to pick off one by one as well. We need to stand together, and we need to stand strong and united across the country. And absolutely, the federal government is going to be taking the lead on this, and we will have to stand with them and make sure that Ontarians' interests are protected.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, ça va?
Ça va bien, vous?
Oui.
Charles-Antoine Gagnon avec le journal Le Droit à Ottawa-Gatineau. Au mois d'août 2024, le maire d'Ottawa, Mark Sutcliffe, a lancé une campagne Équité pour Ottawa. Il demandait au gouvernement fédéral, il demande encore au gouvernement fédéral qu'il paye sa juste part pour les taxes foncières des immeubles. Il demande aussi une équité pour le transport en commun, les infrastructures. Il dit qu'à Toronto, Brampton, le gouvernement provincial paye le LRT, mais à Ottawa, il paye beaucoup moins.
Oui.
Qu'est-ce qu'un gouvernement du NPD ferait pour apporter
Ottawa,
l'équité à Ottawa?
Oui. Alors, nous, dans le parti néo-démocrate, moi, comme peut-être, j'espère, la prochaine première ministre d'Ontario, nous allons offrir un New Deal pour les municipalités d'Ontario, un New Deal qui, je ne sais pas comment on dit ça, to raise back up, upload les coûts de l'infrastructure, du transit, les choses comme ça, au niveau de la gouvernement provincial. C'est très important que nous sommes les partenaires et il y a c'était les gouvernements conservateurs de Mike Harris qui a downloaded that. Alors c'est notre priorité d'être un bon partenaire pour les municipalités.
Deuxième question. Tous les chefs de parti sont de Toronto, de la région de Toronto. Est-ce qu'il n'y a pas un danger d'oublier une région comme Ottawa, que les chefs de parti voient souvent comme plus une région fédérale que provinciale?
Oui, je sais que beaucoup de personnes ici dans Ottawa pensent qu'ils sont oubliés par le gouvernement provincial. Et je pense que c'est vrai. C'est vrai, absolument. Moi, je suis née et I was raised dans Terre-Neuve. Je suis arrivée à Ontario, à Ottawa, comme un étudiant à Carleton. Et puis, mes parents, ils vivent ici, à Vanier maintenant. Pour moi, la région d'Ottawa, c'est très important. C'est une priorité pour nous. Et aussi, je veux dire aussi, la population franco-ontarienne, les francophones d'Ontario. Je pense que le gouvernement provincial aussi prendre les francophones par acquis. Oui. Par acquis. Alors, je veux être un premier ministre d'Ontario pour les francophones, les francophonies. Ça, c'est pourquoi je pratique en français. OK.
C'est très bien, Marit.
OK, merci. Je sais, je pratique. OK.
Sorry, Joanne Lossius, Ottawa Citizen. I have a couple of questions about today's platform.
Yeah.
You use the figure of $1,500 per student. Can you tell me how you arrived upon that figure and what it would take to get back to even baseline expenditures in education?
Yeah, I can get you the more details after this, but I will tell you this. You look at just it's a widely used figure because it's proven, right? It's the cost of everything has gone up, but we have not actually increased education at the same rate. It amounts to a $1,500 cut per student in the province of Ontario. Now, how do we get back to that? Well, we have to. It's a giant hole in our education budget, and our children are seeing the impact of that every day. Fewer educational assistants, bigger class sizes, fewer supports. We see it, and it is the story of schools in every corner of this province. Not to mention the fact that our school boards are struggling to get buses to pick up kids and bring them to school in time. Like, this is a huge disaster that we've seen rolling out across the province. It gets worse every year. I believe, and one of the things we will do as well when we form government, is we will actually start to review and revise the education funding formula, which nobody has addressed, despite the issues with it, in decades. Our education is funded right now based on a formula that's like bums in seats, as opposed to student need. That tells you a lot about what this government's priorities are. It's all about the numbers. It's not about the kids' needs. We need to address the kids' needs, and I'll get you the other information more specifically so you can see that. Yeah.
Okay, so the follow-up question, where will this money, okay, so how much money are we talking about and where will it come from?
Well, first thing I would say is we have to focus on addressing the need that exists there, filling the hole. This government, they've wasted a ton of money on things that are not priorities for Ontarians. Billions of dollars, for example, just one example, on a private luxury Austrian spa in downtown Toronto. $2.2 billion that no one here, I'm going to just make a bet, is going to use. Nobody asked for. And it's costing every household in this province $400. That's just one example of a place where we can start to divert funding back to the education system. I will also say that we do have in addition to the funding around the education funding formula, we are also very focused on the capital repair issue. I shared some of the numbers in my presentation, but I'll tell you this. I mean, $830 million will clear the backlog in 10 years. We are so far behind. And we are also going to have to take account of the growing population in Ontario. We're going to have to review that funding formula. So after 7 years of Doug Ford, and I would say also many other previous governments who have failed to adequately invest in education, we've got to get it right. We are letting our students down, and by doing that, we are letting down our future and our economy of the future. So that is going to be a priority for us, absolutely.
One more quick question. Do you know how many school boards are in a deficit position this year?
I don't know the exact number, but I can get that for you. Yeah.
Bonjour, Fatoumata pour Radio-Canada.
Bonjour.
Maintenant que les tarifs sont sur pause, sont suspendus, quel est votre plan? Comment vous comptez recadrer votre campagne?
Sorry?
Maintenant que les tarifs sont suspendus, quel impact ça a sur votre campagne au jour d'aujourd'hui, là, actuellement?
Alors, maintenant, je pense que c'est une matière de confiance de Doug Ford. Et c'est la même chose que avec les tarifs. Nous sommes weak. Les Ontariens n'ont pas de confiance à Doug Ford et son gouvernement de battre pour les Ontariennes et les Ontariens. On ne peut pas avoir confiance à Doug Ford après 7 ans. Après 7 ans, ça suffit. Alors ça, c'est le focus de notre campagne et je pense que les Ontariens méritent mieux.
Vous êtes ici aujourd'hui pour parler d'éducation. Avez-vous un plan pour les écoles d'Ottawa? Quel est votre plan là, pour l'éducation ici dans la région?
Right. Alors, nous allons travailler avec les conseils scolaires ici et de la province, et avec les conseils scolaires, avec les travailleurs, avec notre gouvernement, d'avoir un plan pour la région, mais aussi pour toute la province. Je sais qu'ici, nous avons les matières un peu particulières à la région, particulièrement what's the word? The growth de la population francophone ici. C'est vraiment une priorité pour nous. Et alors, mais ça c'est tout que je peux dire maintenant, mais on peut proviser, sorry, my French is now starting to falter, mais je vais répondre un peu plus spécifique après ça. OK?
Dernière question.
Last question.
Depuis le début de la campagne s'est beaucoup jouée sur les tarifs. Doug Ford a dit que c'était un peu ça qui menait la campagne.
Yeah.
Pour vous, c'est quoi votre enjeu principal et est-ce que vous êtes d'accord avec ça, que la campagne était autour des tarifs?
Je pense que cette campagne, c'est Monsieur Ford, il a quitté son poste, son emploi. Alors pour moi, c'est la priorité, c'est que je veux avoir son job et que après 7 ans longs de Monsieur Ford et ses conservatifs, après 7 ans, les Ontariennes et les Ontariens souffrirent beaucoup. Alors notre but, c'est de former un gouvernement, c'est à vos côtés. Et que M. Ford et les conservatifs, après 7 ans, ça suffit. On peut faire mieux et les Ontariens méritent mieux.
Thank you.
OK, merci beaucoup. Thank you, everybody. It's been a real pleasure being here today.